I'm sorry. That is my cue to start the show. Welcome to another edition of the Hard Rock and Sports Show, live from high atop Hard Rock and Sports Studios in beautiful scenic Monroe, New Jersey. We are your 2-hour weekly get-together where we bring you all the biggest news from around the worlds of hard rock, heavy metal, and of course the wide world of sports. And guys, welcome to Thursday night, July the 23rd in the year of our good Lord 2026. And it is official. It is the middle of summer, and it is football time here in America. That's right. They hit the Hard Rock and Sports Show. Tonight kicks off the football season. That's right. The NFL training camps aren't for another few days and maybe into next week. But we are officially in football mode with our newest rendition or episode of the NFL training camp show, which was our very first show 12 years ago. This is the 14th edition. Let me see. I could actually play some of that right now for you. Let's see. Hold on. Let me get it up on the screen here. I'm gonna. Let's see. Before I get Jeff and my dad on, let me start by playing a little something from our very first show on the Hard Rock and Sports Show. Let's see. Okay, let's see if we can get it playing here. 1 second, boys and girls. No, it won't play. Why won't it play? Why am I not hearing it? Why are you not stomping out private pile? Share screen. Let me see if I can do it that way. It won't even bring it up. That's a great question. I guess it won't play. Interesting. All right, I tried. Anyway, welcome to the show. We are looking forward to doing another episode of the Hard Rock and Sports Show. Yeah, rather. Okay. Anyway, let's see. I am lost right now. Okay. So anyway, the very first show 12 years ago was the NFL training camp show, and I thought it'd be a great idea to get to play a little bit. I can't. So in the meantime, we appreciate you tuning in, and we're going to talk 2 hours of NFL football right here. Jeff will be joining me in a second. Just let's see. I had a couple notes about starting the show. First of all, we will. Let's see. It is our anniversary. 12 years on the air. It's 1 day past the anniversary of Ozzy's passing, which was July 22nd of last year. So we talked a little about that last year. But we are on to football tonight, and all football. So thank you for all tuning in. Let me get the show kicked off with Jeff, and I'll try to regroup here a little bit and figure it all out. Then we get the show started the only way we know how, and that's by bringing on my partner in crime of 45 years, the lovely and talented Mr. Jeff Towinski. Jeff, welcome to the our 14th episode of and our 12-year anniversary for the Hard Rock and Sports NFL training camp show.
Yeah, it's a
I'm not hearing
big accomplishment.
Hold on. I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can't hear you for some reason. Hold on a second. I don't know what I did. Hold on. I might have did something. Because I did not hear. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to kick this little motherfucker in his ass. You're in the middle of the fucking kitchen, you're barking at nothing. No, I'm not shutting all the way. Let him jump down and come out if he has to. Jeff, you there?
Can you hear me?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
I can't hear you. I don't.
No,
I think it's me.
I don't know. I can hear you
Let's see
fine.
how we can figure it out. Hold on a second. It's got to be me. Plugged in. I'm plugged in. Mic's up. Everything is up. I don't know why I'm not hearing Jeff. Why am I not hearing Jeff? Jeff, you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm not hearing you. I don't know why.
Frank says he hears me. Well,
Don't know why you're muted.
now you okay? I'm
I'm
on.
hearing it. I don't know why. There's no sun. You hear Jeff? Frankie, can you hear me? Because I'm not hearing Jeff.
I hear you.
Oh God, it's one of those weeks. I can see it coming. That might be it. Let's see. I might have. I think I might have fixed it. Naughty weather. Jeff,
I can hear you.
still can't hear you. Hold on. Don't know why. There's no sun up in the sky.
It's got to be on
Jeffy
your end.
weather.
Frank, are you still there? Do you hear us both, or do you hear anybody, Frank?
Nope, not hearing you yet. Jeff,
Yeah, I hear you.
I know you're hearing me. Frankie hears me. Stay there because I think it all has to do with me. I just don't know what I'm doing wrong. I don't know what I'm doing wrong there, Hefe. Just keep being you, Jeffy. Just keep being you. Give me a second. Let me figure it out.
Frank hears us. Maybe you
Trying
got to
all the
re-sign.
usual stuff. That's not working. Mike is up here. See if Frankie's hearing you. Everybody's hearing you.
What about your headphones? Tom, your headphones.
Done. That's good. Mics are good. Default mic is working. Let me try.
Can you hear anything now?
Jeff,
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep. All right. I'm going. No headset tonight.
Okay.
All right. So we're on here, Jeff. It's nope. It's I don't know what it was. Whatever it is, it's past. We'll move on, Jeff. Let's kick the show off. Maybe we can salvage my lameness this week. Jeff, how was your week?
Oh, interesting week.
Oh yeah.
Well, a lot happened this week, man.
Yeah. I do want to mention the passing of Jeff's friend, and I would call him a friend, at least friendly. The untimely, too soon passing of Richie Holmes. We'll dedicate tonight's show to Richie. You want to give a little something on the passing of Richie? You knew him way better than I did.
I listen. A man of his age is just way too soon. We can only assume what we've been hearing, which was he had a heart attack putting the garbage out. But listen, horrible news. Regardless,
Yeah.
I just saw him a few days before that, and it's not like I used to talk to him on the regular or see him all the time. I had some history with him for years, playing in a band with him, and then listen, it's just a sad situation to have. He had a young daughter and a budding business, and whatever. When your time comes, your time comes. But
Yeah.
I just also can't mention much
Yep.
due to the nature of it, but just want to keep a couple of other people we know in our thoughts and prayers,
Yes.
and just acknowledge their
Yeah. What they're
issues
going
that are
through.
going right now, which is horrible in its own right.
Yeah.
Uh, hopefully, the
Yeah.
brighter days are coming for everybody involved.
Yeah. I don't know how you recover from what they're going through, but our condolences are out, and we've spoken to our friend, and we'll leave it at that out of respect for the of the family. So our condolences to our friend, and of course to Richie Holmes and all of his friends and family. I guess I didn't know Richie all that well. We crossed paths in high school. He was a little younger than me, with my brother's class, and see him around in the neighborhood and whatever. And a few years back, we actually did our 10th anniversary. There's a 10th, no, I think it was our 5th anniversary show from there.
It was before the pandemic. I know.
I was pretty sure it was number 5. I think in 2019 we did our 5th anniversary show from Richie's place, Juicy Lucy, which closed down a few years ago. He's been on to bigger and better things, and like I said, I didn't know Richie well, but handshakes and hugs when I saw him, and I didn't know him to be anything but a decent guy. So I'll leave it at that. To the best of my abilities, and again, we want to wish Richie's family our sincere and deepest condolences. So, all right, Jeff. Let's see. Let's get on to some other stuff. I guess it's enough of the bad. Maybe we can have some fun tonight, Jeff. It's time to talk some. We can show. You still hearing me?
Yeah, you're a little muffled.
Okay, I'll see if I can bring up the volume a little bit. Any better?
A little bit. You sound like a little echoey. Maybe just move a little closer.
Okay.
To the microphone.
You got it. But this show, for 12 years, has evolved, and it's evolved into a football show. Let's call it for what it is. We love talking football, everything about it, and that's what we do best. And it's a tough spot from February through right now. We get by. We do a lot of lists, wrestling, hopefully some music, and we find our way to get to this day where it's football, and that will take over the shows going forward. Jets, Giants, hopefully for better. So, for me, it's like I feel reborn tonight.
I don't know why, man. Your team is going to have a dismal season. I project Malik Neighbors to be on the IR after the third period of the third quarter of the first game. Also, one thing that I have to talk about. Yeah, I see it. I can see it, and I think I see little Tom poke out. Now I can't hear you at all. I can't hear you at all.
How about that now? Better?
Yes, now I can hear you. One thing I got to bring up to you right off the bat.
Go ahead.
Okay? Right off the bat, I'm coming right out of the gate.
Boom.
Fucking Scatterboo, man. What the fuck is wrong with this kid, dude?
Yeah.
What is wrong with it? And then Harbaugh turns around and makes a joke out of it and says, well, at least you could do is stick the landing.
Yeah.
What is the matter with these people, man?
I have to tell you, I was very disappointed in Scatterboo. Listen, he's a 20-something-year-old kid. I'm sure he feels like he can't be stopped. But after last year, having a good, promising start, don't get me wrong, but getting hurt as bad as he did in week 8 of last year, I would think he'd be a little brighter. But I think that is going to be one of the things I'm going to be looking for early this year, Jeff, for both him and Jackson Dart, is the hope that the two of them, being so young, inexperienced, and highly motivated, that they actually, especially Dart, learn to maybe avoid a little bit of the contact and realize that they're not playing kids in college, they're playing men in the pros. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll say this much. Listen, there's a lot of people on that Giant team right now that need to buckle down a little bit. And to me, okay, you need Malik Neighbors. Hopefully, he's not an injury-prone wide receiver. Hopefully, he gets back on the horse and gets through a season without getting injured. You got Jackson Dart, who plays reckless. There's a time for that. I understand that. It's definitely not in week 3 and 4 and whatever. And come playoff time and you got to make a play. I could understand that to a point, but he's got to learn to protect himself. And Scatterboo, his injury came while during a play. It wasn't like he was celebrating and did something stupid. But I would just like to see him smarten up a little bit and be more careful. I don't know if he's even cleared for activity yet, but here he was, didn't even get to camp, and when I first story I read is that he tweaked it a little bit, and that he was slightly injured. Evidently, that's really not the case. I haven't seen anything else about it, but he's got to be smart, man. He has to smarten up.
You would hope so. I mean, when I hear about, I think, listen, the three young guys, obviously Dart is healthy heading into camp, so that's the good news. Frankie's point, stop jumping off boats.
What was that? I didn't see that.
Yeah, he was jumping off boats wherever he was in the Caribbean or whatever. But Scatterboo is ready for camp. Is the thing I've read is that he's 100% healthy and ready to go. And, of course, Malik Neighbors getting to form. There is a lot of clouds over that, whether he's actually going to be ready or not.
Yeah, I saw that.
Come camp time. Let's take a minute on the Jets and the Giants. Then let's get my pops on, and then we can really dig into it. I got a ton of things to bring up and talk about. I want to get them all through in the 2 hours. So let's do that. But so we've kind of went through the Giants real quick. I mean, a lot of enthusiasm, maybe too much with the new coaching staff, the changing culture. The Giants may have found their quarterback in the future, which is important. A lot of questions on defense, ton of questions on the defense, ton of questions on the roster itself sometimes. A lot of holes, cornerback, safety. There are some, when your second best receiver is your tight end, that's a question. Jeff, you got to give me 1 second. Hold on. I got to do something. Hold on.
All right. Frank, let me ask you something. I didn't see what he did. So he jumped off a boat. What was he, at a vacation destination or something? And Tommy said he was in the Caribbean, so I would guess it would have to be that. And he jumped off a boat. But, I mean, you got to understand something, too, that these are guys that are in their 20s. We were doing the same stupid shit back then. Now that we're 3 times as old as they are, we're like, well, don't do that no more. You could break your neck. But, a lot of guys are indestructible when they're at that age, and you just got to hope that that for the Giants' sake, that these 3 guys stay healthy, and maybe they can grow together and start something special. The Jets, completely different situation with them. You're always waiting for the fucking wheels to fall off, no matter what they're doing or who they got on the team. No problem.
Okay, so back to the Giants real fast. So lots of questions. The thing about the Giants, Jeff, is the thing I always say every year is just play meaningful games, just play better, be in the fourth quarter of all the games. But they did that last year, and it didn't work out. They lost 5 or 6 or 7 games in the fourth quarter. Biggest one to Frankie's Denver Broncos, where they completely imploded, cost the coach their defensive coordinator's job. A game or 2 later, their head coach a job. So the Giants this year, what is acceptable in the Jeff Towinski world for the Giants at the end of 2026 if the Giants do the minimum of what, will that show you Dave jump to the next level?
You know, we talk about this a lot between the Jets and the Giants, and I think that the Giants might be a step or two above the Jets as far as where they stand right now with the players that they have.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that the goal for both of them remains that they're playing, that they're in the games come late in the game, that that the game's not over by the second quarter or right after halftime, that they still have a chance to win. They're still being competitive. Maybe they come back, maybe they're down by 21 and they come back, but they end up losing anyway. At least they're showing some resiliency, that they're showing that, that they may be down, but they're not completely out.
Right.
But, is a playoff berth in the cards for either this year? I personally don't think so. That's just me personally. I don't think so.
Oh yeah,
Maybe I'm wrong.
I wouldn't think
but-
so. No, I wouldn't think so. I think there's much tougher teams, and we're going to go through the whole league in a minute, and we're going to hold our predictions, and we'll go through the schedule later on another day. Today's not the day for that, but for the Jets, still a lot of questions. Obviously questions that were at quarterback even before the Geno Smith run-ins with the police and all the other garbage. Lots of questions at quarterback for the Jets. What's the game plan? Are they playing for next year? Is Geno really, the guy for the next few years? Is that the plan? And of course, the head coach is going to do a much better job than he did last year, whereas he might not be around next year. So when you look at the Jets and you see how the last year ended, and you see what they've done, what is the reasonable win total? What is that bridge? What is that end of the season? Jeff will go, wasn't great, but I'm happy with the progress.
I would have to say they got to win at least 6 to 7 games. You got to remember they're in a bad way that you want to see them win. As a fan, I want to see them win and stop the bleeding one way or another. But are they going to win their way out of the possibility of picking for a quarterback? You don't want to end up having to give up all of the first round picks you got to get somebody that you're going to hope could be the quarterback of the future. So it would, in a perfect world, maybe that kid that they took in the 4th round from is the answer, and he shows it. And then they have 3 picks for the first round that they could pick whoever they want in any position that they want. And it just, nobody thinks of that. And I could definitely see why nobody thinks about it. It is the Jets, so it's, God would have to wave his hand over them, and a month long of Sundays before that shit happens. But you never know. You just never know.
Yep. All right, we got a lot to get to. I'm going to get my pops on now, and then we're gonna come right back. I got to put up the board. Jeff can pick out the topic he wants, and we'll run through it. So let's sit tight. Thank you all for joining us. We appreciate you having us with us for our 2026, the 14th episode of the Hard Rockin' Sports Show NFL Training Camp Preview Show. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we really appreciate. I was off one thing. The official start date to this show was actually July 31st, 2014. So next week, we will celebrate 1 year on the air. I thought it was the 24th for some reason, but it's actually next week was the official anniversary. My very first show ever was that. So since
you know what? You didn't think about doing this on the 30th, so this is something that you could consider it a bit of an anniversary date.
Yeah,
you had everything ready to go. You just had to wait for the day to get there, and
I like to do the show before the camps open up. I like to get ahead of that, and then when the camps open, we're talking about what's going on and not our predictions or whatever. So let's get Pops on. Let's see what he's got to say this week. What's up, Pop?
What's up, guys? First, I'd like to wish Jeff a happy birthday.
Thank you, Mr. Florio. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Go ahead, Tom.
No, good, Pop. What you got? What do you want? What's on your mind this week?
Well, I listened to what Jeff said about it. How do you know? I think if you're in the game all the time, or most of the time, you don't have to win every game. You're 1 or 2 plays away from getting what you want.
Yep.
But you don't want to walk in and in the first quarter, the game's over already.
We've seen a lot of those. Yeah.
That's to me. Everybody
Well,
has their own
Well,
definition.
you know what? If you look at it, last year, most people it cost the head coach's job. It almost cost the general manager's job, and the Giants, for the most part, were in every game. I mean, they blew 5 or 6 or 7 games in the fourth quarter. So, to that end, it was good because every game was competitive. It was down to the last drive, but they blew a bunch of games and it looked ugly. So the question becomes, what's the next step? This team, to me, needs to win some of those games. If they won 4 of those games last year that they blew, there's a chance they make the playoffs last year, which, again, would not have got them anything more than one extra game. But, so I agree with you, Dad. I want to be in every game, and in December, I want the games to still mean something. To me, that's the mark. Last year, it wasn't the case. So hopefully this year in December, the Giants and the Jets are still playing games that matter.
I watched the TV today, and they showed what is it, the coach Harbaugh.
Yeah, okay, Harbaugh, yeah.
Yeah, and he was addressing the rookies.
Mm-hmm.
I got to tell you, it was kind of embarrassing.
Oh yeah, why is that?
He was screaming at them. These are grown men, and screaming, "You're a giant! You're a giant! What are you coming up to world champs?" I mean,
Well, here's the thing on that. I didn't see it, and you're not far off. A lot of people were kind of making fun of him because of it. I did not see it. But what I will say is, first off, his training camps are among still the most tough training camps out there. A lot of his ex-players hated how much he pushed them. Some of the players he has now not have complained. They've actually been happy. They feel like they're getting pushed, and it's going to make them better. Are the rah-rah speeches a thing of the past? Probably. But I do love the fact that he's selling the Giants to a bunch of kids and trying to make them understand this was once a great and proud franchise. They've won 4 Super Bowls. They've won a couple of the championships. So, yeah, while it's probably a little cringeworthy, I get it. I like the enthusiasm. It's been a while since we had a coach who kind of preached New York Football Giants. I know some of the guys Dable used to bring back some of the old players, but I got no problem sitting there telling them you're a Giant, and if you don't appreciate being a Giant, the door's right there. Don't let it hit you in the ass. So I didn't see it yet, so maybe it's worth it.
I tell you the truth.
Yeah.
I got a little embarrassed.
Okay.
He was talking to them like he was talking to kindergarten kids.
Yeah, but Dad, how many, do you remember the old stories of guys like Lombardi and all that, and how they used to talk to the players? That was football.
But
that's football.
Lombardi,
that's coaching.
Lombardi, I never heard him or saw him do. He made his workouts and his preseason tougher than any game. He wanted them to know how tough it was. But he just didn't come off to me as a screamer.
Well, I would say that if you read Jerry Kramer's book, there was a lot. Jerry Kramer will tell you that he used to get abused. Remember the old Jim Ringo story? Jim Ringo was the center, walked in one day, sat down with him, and said, "Hey, coach, I deserve this. I want more money." Hold on, he went inside and came back and said, "You want more money? Call up the I think it was the Colts. Call up the Colts because I just traded you there." So
when I was Lombardi, yeah.
So I'm saying is, I like the old school coaches. To me, I grew up with coaches, baseball, football, hockey, whatever. They would when you screwed up or they to get you pumped up, they would scream and yell. I'm all for it. I'm gonna check out the video so I can talk better about it next week. But I did hear it was a little bit over the top, so maybe you're right.
I got to weigh in on this, and I think that while it may sound a little corny at times when you hear the coaches talk to people a certain way, I would rather have a coach that does that than sits there and be like, well, we could win 3 games or we could win 6 games.
Yeah.
It's up to you. I'm not going to push you guys. You're big boys. You don't want to hear that. You want your coach to get inside the players' heads and like let them think like, you have a chance. You could win. You could be special. You can help your team. You could bring this team to the next level. It's better than saying, well, we're going to be going for the first round pick, first pick in the first round
Yep.
this year because you guys are awful and we'll be bad for the next 2 or 3 years. But it just, I don't know. I would
I'm
rather
with you.
see them get in the guys' heads and push them and hopefully make them better.
I'm with you,
Taste.
but I want to I want to go look for that, so I'll take a look at it.
All right, enjoy the rest of your night.
Thanks, pops.
Jeff,
I will see you.
sorry I
I
didn't
will,
forget you last week. But many more
oh,
birthdays for you.
Thank you,
That's
Mr.
good.
Florio. Thank you.
Take care, guys.
all right,
Be
Dad.
good.
Catch you later. That's my pops. He checks in every week with us. We love having him, and he's been telling me for a while. I haven't seen Jeff. I got to wish him a happy birthday. But
You know what, dude? It's nice of him. It's nice to see him every week. It's
Yeah.
nice to see him come on, that he wants to come on. I feel bad for him because it looks like he gets tired doing it. It looks like, and you know what? It's more important to see him, to say hello, let him say what he's got to say, whether it's for 5 minutes or 5 hours, and
Yep.
that's all. It makes him happy to come on and
He
say
loves
hello and
doing
see us. Yeah,
yeah,
so
he
good for
loves
him.
coming on. Asks every week if we're doing the show. Is Jeff going to be on? He always wants to be involved. So it's all good. What are you gonna let's see. All right, so let's see, Jeff. I'm going to share my screen with you. Let me know. Let's see. I make it bigger here. No, that didn't work. Hold on a second. Why is that doing? Okay. Why is it doing that? New folder. Okay. Can you read those, Jeff, by any chance?
Some of them. Some of them. Be careful in case there's any pictures I don't need to see.
No, there's no pictures there. This is all. So what we got are, here are the topics for tonight's show. I have some stuff I want to know. I will bring up each one has a page. My question is, do you want to talk 2000? Okay, new NFL head coaches, Jets, Giants, coaches on the hot seat, quarterback battles, injuries, 2026 biggest issues, overseas games, top 10 storylines for NFL training camps, or the top games of 2026.
Wow, there's a lot there.
Yep.
And you just saw the Tommy porn tapes too, didn't you, Frank? I saw them. Little Tommy goes to the mall, stuff like that, Little Tommy goes in the steam room. I saw that.
There you go.
Listen,
There you
I'm going to ask Frank Catalano to. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Pick a number between 1 and 8. Frank Catalano. Let's see what he picks. We'll pick between 1 and 8.
There's actually 10 topics, so
That's all right. I said 1 and 8.
All right.
We'll just wait for him to get around to it. Okay, there he is. What did he say? Number 8. Okay, so that gives us start from the bottom.
Oh, you want to start from the bottom? Okay, hold
Yeah,
on.
start from the bottom. Count 8 up.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That would be the New
And
York
then,
Football Jets.
Go. Okay, so we'll go to them real quick, and we could wrap this up in a nutshell, because this is a team that has a lot of issues, that has some bright pieces, hopefully, on their roster. But until they get a quarterback, it's just going to be, where are they? Where do they sit? You got Demario Davis back, but he's 37 years old. So what could he possibly do this year without a quarterback? So, maybe he comes in, maybe he has a solid year, but, you can't expect the guy to stay here forever. So when he leaves, you got to replace him, but maybe you got a quarterback. So then you have another hole that you got to replace. The offensive line, they want to look for a center, have a backup center. There's a couple names that are being tossed around up there. So they still have work to be done, and they still have some holes to be filled. But, they have some pieces. But if they don't start to gel soon, and this team really has to gel, that next year, that maybe the guys that they pick in the draft next year just come right in and just, take their spots at the table and help move this along. But if not, it's going to be another long rebuild for these guys, without a doubt. And I really don't think there's much more to say about the Jets. I
Well,
think that the Giants are a more interesting subject at this point in time, to be honest with you.
well, we'll get to the Giants. Let's spend one more minute. So obviously, a big draft class so far. David Bailey, the number 2 overall pick, a little bit of a surprise. A lot of people thought they'd go with Arvell Reese, who actually went to the Giants. Kind of changed the whole complexion of the early part of the draft. Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end, Omar Cooper, wide receiver. These are guys who are meant to help and maybe get this offense a little better. The problem is, you said it. The big problem on that is the quarterback. But the good news is the strength of this team could be, Jeff, the offensive line. With Fashanu and Membo, Tippmann, they have a very young offensive line that came together a little bit last year, maybe with a chance to run the ball a little bit more this year. Maybe that's the answer and not put the pressure on Geno to throw a lot. What do you think?
He's going to have to throw the ball somewhere along the line, and he's not the answer. Going into it, he's not the long-term answer. So there's certain ways that they can't build around him. You're going to have to think that the build around a quarterback is going to happen next year with a more solid option, a more solid choice for the team other than Geno Smith. One thing that worries me a lot, they said they got to go out. The best player they can get is David Bailey. Okay, he's the one. He'll get start. He can contribute. This, that, and the other thing. Oh, by the way, he can't play against the run. And anything that I've been reading now the last few days, there seems to be some genuine concern that he can't play against the run. And I'm like, what exactly does that mean, that he can't play against the run? You know what I mean? Like, not every down is going to be a passing down. The Jets were awful last year. These guys could have walked, never mind run the ball. They could have walked with the ball to kill time because they were back, down so many different games. So, this guy is going to have to learn too. So just because he was the number 2 pick in the draft, maybe they should have went with Arvell Reese. Maybe the Giants did get a better guy. We won't know right away.
Nope.
But right off the bat, there's a shadow behind this guy. And I'm going to be honest with you, as a Jet fan, it's not what I want to hear now. This is something that they should have said, this guy's going to be great for rushing the quarterback. But, my grandmother could run past him. And that's like, should we have taken him? I don't know. I'm hoping that, he's a strength of the team. But one never knows.
Nope, that's an interesting take, Jeff. And again, we'll watch out for that. Of course, the change. There's a lot of pressure on Aaron Glenn to not only improve on his game day X's and O's, but change the culture and fix what happened at the end of last year, and not let that happen when the team completely fell apart. The last 5 or 7 games, they did add Frank Reich, a former head coach, which could be a signal that. There's a guy on the staff who could jump in and take over if things fall apart early. And the question I have, Jeff, is what's the identity of the Jets offense? Is it going to be built around Breece Hall in the running game? Did they go out and get, spend those draft picks on a tight end and wide receivers to run the ball? What do you think is going to be the Jet identity this year?
It's hard to say with Geno Smith at the helm, man. It's certainly not going to be they're looking to win the fucking passing title this year and have the number 1 passing offense. I can tell you that much. There's a lot of questions, but the good news is that there is some youth on this team and that they do have a chance. Until it proves that it's not working, we have to give it the benefit of the doubt right now. I mean, this is going to be a big time for this team. And hopefully, that they're able to get it together and win a little bit. I mean, part of me is torn. How do you want? They have 3 number 1 picks. In a perfect world, they tank it and they suck. And they get the number 1 or number 2 pick in the draft and get the quarterback that they want. That's not the case with the Jets. They'll win 6 to 8 games. You watch. Aaron Glenn is going to get Coach of the Year award next year. and Muji's going to get the General Manager of the Year award, and and then Woody Johnson will get Owner of the Year, and then it'll be another 20 years before anything happens. So,
All
it's
right.
just the Jets. It's just how they are, man.
No, I get it. Again, it's kind of a make or break year, and it's almost like starting all over again. And I think again, the big question is going to be, when do the Jets find their future quarterback, and is he on the roster at this point? Like you said, the kid they picked up late in the fourth round of the draft may be the guy. We'll see, but. Let's move on to the next topic. It's already 7:40. We got a lot to get to, and I don't want to miss. Where do you want to go next?
Well, let's go up one. Let's go to the Giants.
Okay, let's go to New York Football Giants. As you can see, I've been putting a little bit of time and effort into this. So these are the top training camp storylines for the Giants. One, Jackson Dart's development. Jeff, can Jackson Dart? How much improvement do you need to see from Jackson Dart? Was last year's? If he repeated last year's energy at last year's play, is that good enough, or does he need to go to another level?
It's not so much that he needs to go to another level. He could play with last year's energy. That was a good thing. He gave your team hope. He gave your team a chance. He gave your team the chance to believe that they're going in the right direction. I just think that he plays a little reckless, and that he has to be careful for his own good. He's playing against bigger, faster, stronger people in the NFL than he did in college. And listen, one crunching hit and that's it. It's over.
Yeah,
it's over. Maybe your career, who knows? So you got to be careful. You have to be extremely careful. And listen, for the Giants' sake. You hope that he learns how to play smart. He learns how to protect himself. He learns how to protect the ball. He learns his progressions and his reads, and that he comes into the game knowing more this year than he did last year, including how to protect yourself, how to slide with the ball, when to throw it away. He's a pretty big guy for his.
Yes.
Was he like 6'3", 6'4"?
Probably, yeah, something in that range. Sure.
Yeah. There's always guys bigger than you. You got to be careful, man. You have to be careful in the NFL.
It's a different thing. Jeff, you saw Cam Scatterbull for 8 games. We joked about it. The guy was a maniac. He, seeking out contact. If you're the Giants, is Cam Scatterbull, are you building your running game around Cam Scatterbull, or is he a piece you insert in spots? If you were head coach, how would you handle Cam Scatterbull, the running back?
To me, Cam Scatterbull is not your 3 down, 4 down back. I would compare him to the likes of like Danny Woodhead. You need somebody with grit. You put him in there. He's going to help you move the ball. Aside from the things that we've said a million times about him, he has to be careful, but he got hurt on a football play, not a celebration play. So I don't have too much to say about the injury that way. He got injured in a manner that could happen to anybody at any given time. The one thing that I will say is that he has to be smart, or else he's going to have a very short shelf life in the NFL. And, he'll be one of these guys, here's Cam Scatterbull, and, he's coming for Old Timers Day for the Giants, if there is that. And, in 4 years, he racked up 3,700 yards and 16 touchdowns and another 900 yards receiving and 10 touchdowns. So you don't want stats like that, man.
You're and 25 concussions.
Yeah, you're in a market where you can do well for yourself. Just be smart. Like I said, if I was Harbaugh, instead of saying that, you got to stick that landing, I would have been like, if I ever find out you do that again, you're going to be like 17 string. Never mind fucking, going out there to do. You could do that on the sideline with the cheerleaders. Okay, I'll make sure that you never play in this fucking league again. You'll be playing in the XFL or something stupid like that. Only because with a player like him, that's a weapon. That's
Absolutely.
A weapon. Mm-hmm. Okay, you have to look. That is the best way to describe him. He is a weapon. He's coming into his second year. Let's hope he's healthy. Let's hope that he could show the NFL that he is a gritty player and he has to be taken seriously, and that he has a good season. Listen, it's always nice to see. We just saw the Knicks win the NBA championship, and I feel as though that their celebration time kind of got cut short. Maybe because of the soccer tournament that happened, they kind of shut the
Right. Yeah.
shut down the all of the celebrating for the Knicks,
Yeah.
and
yeah. Makes sense.
it was nice to see a New York team make it. So. Into the championship. Let's hope that it happens more often, whether it's the Giants, Jets, Yankees, whatever, Mets. It doesn't matter. Just let it happen. And the Giants, if they go in the right way and they're smart about it, you never know. I just feel as though that, Harbaugh needs to reel him in a little bit. And, if it's the playoffs, you got to do what you got to do. That's fine. But you can't start from week one.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Big changes, some interesting changes to the roster. We all know that Dexter Lawrence, their captain, their supposed best player, who didn't play well last year and part of the year before, forced his way off the team to the Bengals. The Giants wind up with an extra draft pick, taking an offensive lineman who should jump right in. Jeff, the question I asked, and they brought back a friendly face in Odell Beckham. When a player like Dexter Lawrence, who's so revered on the Giants by the players, by the fans, people around the league call him the second best interior defensive player, blah, blah, blah. How much can that affect the roster going forward, knowing that your best player didn't want to be here so much that he forced himself off the team?
Well, he did have 2 years in a row where his stats kind of declined a little bit.
Yep.
All right. You somehow, some way traded him and got a 10th, first round 10th pick in the draft.
Which is a great move. Yeah.
Which is incredible move. I think the Giants, they won the trade to me. I don't give a fuck what he does. Especially if you get an offensive lineman that could play and it's going to be in that position for 10 to 12 seasons, you definitely won the trade. Because let's face it, he's definitely not. Dexter Lawrence is not going to fucking get any better at this point in time.
No,
so
I agree with you. I think you're going to see an average Dexter. There's no way in the world, in my opinion, he goes to the Bengals and he's turns himself back into a dominant force.
No, I don't see it.
I agree.
No, definitely not. I think that if anything, the Giants, they must have walked away and they'd be like, did this really happen? And we got a first round pick for this guy. And I believe when we talked, and even Matt, when he came on, I think we all said that they weren't going to get that well of a pick for him. Definitely not a first rounder.
So you get a top 10 pick for a guy who didn't want to be here, wasn't going to play here. Last one
it's
on the
amazing.
Giants. Yeah,
it's amazing.
Odell Beckham returns, Jeff. No guaranteed spot. A wide receiver room that's questionable. Malik Nabels, lots of talent, but a little bit of a health issue. Might not be full form till next year. Darius Slayton returns. Malachi Fields gets picked up. You got Mooney. They got Austin. They signed this free agent, Lively, the tight end. To give them some down the field depth. But is the Odell Beckham story a distraction, or is it one of those things where kind of the team, the fans kind of rally around him and it becomes a feel-good story? Which way does that go?
Oh, wow. Tom, that is a really good question because that could go any which way.
Yeah.
Any which way but loose, man. It could be a feel-good story. I don't think it's going to be. All right. I don't foresee him being on the team at the end of the season. I think he's going to run out of gas, or they're like he's just holding us back. But whenever the Giants or any team could sign one of their old veterans on a contract that's probably their last contract,
I would say.
And maybe he just wants to retire a Giant. Who knows? We won't know. He hasn't been hit in a couple of years because he hasn't been playing.
Correct. He didn't play last year. He was on the PED list for 5 or 6 games, and then nobody signed him last year. And I think he was hurt at the end of the year before, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be off on that. So it's been a while for Odell.
Yeah, so let's see what happens. I mean, it may be a point where by week 3 they're like that he's got to go. He doesn't even make the regular season roster.
Yeah, that's a real possibility, because I mean there are guys who are better players than him right now. If he makes the team, it's probably because there were some injuries, and it could be also he's in camp to learn the offense and hang around just in case somebody in week 3 or 4 or 10 gets injured and they need another guy. He'll already be familiar with the roster. So I think he wants to play here. I think it would be a great story if he played here and had any sort of success here, and he was part of their success. I think it'd be a lot of fun. But I also hope that it doesn't become a distraction where he is playing and the storyline every week is, Odell got no catches, no targets, didn't step on the field, he was inactive. Hopefully he doesn't become the story, and the story becomes he has played well enough to be a story.
Let me ask you though, what do you consider acceptable stats for him weekly? If you could give me a weekly line on him, what is it?
I would say you'd want to see probably. I think it'd be a lot to ask, but 3 or 4 catches. Kind of a slot receiver, red zone guy. If he finished the season 50 catches for 400 to 600 yards and 3 or 4 touchdowns, I think he's had a great year.
The touchdowns sound about right, and I would say myself 3 to 5 catches, 30 to 50 yards, 35 to 50 yards a game, a couple touchdowns. As long as he's not a distraction, and he's not like, nobody's giving me the ball, I'm not getting a chance, this, that, and the other thing. I feel as though we could stay on the Giants all year, and then listen, maybe you unleash them in the playoffs, and maybe that's the plan. They're like, listen, we make the playoffs, we expect you to do this, that, and the other fucking thing. Right now, we want to get to the playoffs. We want you to help us, but you're not the main focal point.
Correct. Yeah,
you're not the main focal point.
Yeah, and I think he knows that. I think it's different this time. He knows he's probably there just in case somebody gets hurt. Well, and it has to start to see it, and they need him to know the offense. And I think he would love to be part of this team and call it a quits at the whatever, if it's this year, next year. I mean, it's still a fairly young man at 30-something, 34. So, could get a couple years out of him if there's anything left in the tank. All right, Jeff.
And the sad part is, like, when we think of an average person at 33, 34 years old, you'd be like, his best days are behind him and everything else. But a football player, they'll say the same thing. Even though at 33, 34 years old, the guy's still in incredible shape. Even if he's the 7th best receiver on his team, he's still better shape at that age than anybody else that we know at any age.
Correct. 100%. It's just when you compete with 21, 22, 23-year-olds, that one step slower, that 1 second of timing off. It's the difference between a catch, no catch, stopping a guy, scoring a touchdown. So even though he's still a young man, he's just that much slower than that guy who's 24, 25 years old.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a shame. All right, Frankie. Yeah. Frankie says storylines. Let's go to storylines.
Storylines? Who gave this guy any fucking say?
I got to give Frankie a 1 on this one. All right, so here's what I consider the top 10 storylines going into NFL training camps. Okay, this is no order. This is just what I see as some of the bigger stories that are lined up. The Houston Texans offensive line, big changes around that. I'm going to run through them, Jeff, and you can comment on them when we get there. The Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen, this was a surprise because this is a team that's in first place, going to AFC Championship games every year, been successful for a decade now, and they changed their coach and went to their offensive coordinator as the head coach. To me, that's a big move. Malik Willis getting an opportunity. Malik Willis was the quarterback free agent of the offseason, and that is a scary thing if you're the Miami Dolphins.
You know what? We got to start there, and
Yeah.
I'm glad you go. I'm sorry. I know you want to
No,
read
go
the
ahead.
rest of them, but I got something to say about this. The Miami Dolphins go out and sign Malik Willis, right?
Yep.
Okay, that's fine. If you think the guy has the chance to help your team, you got to do what you got to do, and then you immediately trade your fucking top wide receiver. I do not understand that at all. You get a quarterback, but trade your top wide receiver away. And you really don't replace him either, it seems. And are they torn between rebuilding or trying to hold on to at least a little
Yes.
something?
They are,
Because
yes. That's a good
what is
point.
there left to hold on to? They got rid of a lot of people.
Yeah, I think if Frank Jeffrey was here, he would tell you that this team is caught in the middle of, are we going to give up on this season and build for next year, or are we are we going to try to win some games this year and be competitive and then wind up with the 18th pick or the 17th pick of the draft? I think you're right. This team's caught in the middle right now.
Well, listen, for Frank Catalano, he says he loves that trade. I know that trade definitely benefited him, of course.
Yeah.
But I mean, as far as the like, you want to see what this guy has as quarterback, but yet you don't have a real bona fide wide receiving core. And if Frank Jeffrey was here, he seems like he drinks the Kool-Aid, and he'll tell you that this team has a chance to go and win, which I don't see it, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be a long year if you're a Dolphins fan.
I agree.
You signed Willis to some money, but you just I don't know, dude. I do not know. I just don't feel it. I don't see it.
Yeah, I think that. Well, I think they let Hill go. I think that's another one of those change of the culture things. I mean, Tyreek Hill's still a good player, and I think he's a bonus on a team that's really good. On a team that's not really good, I think he would have heard nothing but complaints from him as the season went on. I think it was a good move for the Dolphins. I think that's a great trade for the Dolphins and for Kansas City. I think that's one of those trades that works for everybody. I think they wanted to get rid of him and all his issues and build and then start building toward the future. But I think you're right, Jeff. They kind of got caught in the middle of where they are. The question I have is, who's going to finish last in that division? Is it the Jets? Is it the Dolphins? And to me, it's the Dolphins. I think the Jets have a better upside right now than the Dolphins do.
Well, I think that I would say that I think the Jets have a better upside.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I just feel as though that the Dolphins, just made no sense to me. It's like, you know what, we're gonna buy this car. It needs some work, but we're gonna replace the whole front end, but the rear end is crushed. And
Right.
they deem that unfixable. But we'll just park it the rest of it behind the bush there, and you'll only see the front and everything will be fine.
Yep.
And I just think Malik Willis, if there's any questions about him as a player and what his ability is, you certainly undermined it by trading your best receiver. Tyreek Hill. I just read an article about Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
I don't know where he's going to end up, but he's claiming he has no strength in his left leg. Training camp opens.
Yeah.
If he's not saying that, like, I'm ready to go, you don't want to hear, and especially 34, 35 years old, whatever he is, that he has no strength in his left leg. That doesn't mean the job is coming your way.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Well, again, I think it was a good move both ways, and I think I think Miami's in for a tougher year, and I think at the end of this thing, I'd be surprised if Malik Willis was their quarterback in the future. I actually would have went with Quinn Ewers, to be honest with you. I just think you give the kid a chance to prove what he can and can't do. Malik Willis, maybe he plays well, but this is a guy who got some success in spot duty up in Green Bay, and I wouldn't expect much better from him.
I agree.
Let's see what the addition of Drake May does. Drake May. The addition of AJ Brown does to Drake May in that offense, and can they help them? He was MVP until the playoffs. Better teams. The production took a major step backwards, and in the Super Bowl they looked terrible. Can AJ Brown go, Jeff, and kind of resurrect himself after the last couple of years in Philly?
As a Jet fan, I certainly hope not, man. I would love to see his career crash and burn.
Yeah, I
You know,
agree.
by week 3 that he's a fucking free agent. And Frank, I know that Tyreek Hill is a free agent, but that's because nobody wants to sign him. I feel,
Yeah.
especially if you come out now, everybody's going to training camp,
Mhm.
and you're going to tell people they got no leg, no power to push off your leg. Who the fuck you going to play for?
I would
You're going to
agree.
get anybody.
Yeah, no. We have the contract situation in Baltimore for Lamar Jackson and the new coaching staff there. So we'll see what that does to Lamar Jackson's offensive output, and whether they're going to commit to him. And I haven't seen. No. I'm sorry, Frank. I was off on that. Cincinnati Bengals, it's a big thing with the Dexter Lawrence thing. I don't think it's as big as I have it, but whatever. I think this is a big one. Who's the Cleveland Browns quarterback? And I think, the Shedeur Sanders versus Deshaun Watson, and Dylan Gabriel, you could throw him in the mix. I think that is the craziest. Who cares? It's almost the who's the tallest midget in the circus. Like, I don't care who plays quarterback for them. They're going to suck, and they're going to suck.
Yeah, hard to disagree.
Now again, the reuniting of Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy in Pittsburgh, and I think this is a very interesting training camp for the Steelers, Jeff. The history of the Steelers has been 3 coaches to date. When they had those coaches, they were young coordinators. First thing, they all stayed 10 and 10 years plus, or 20 years plus. 3 coaches. And then they make this change, and they go to an older 60s, right, mid-60s, kind of retread coach. Again, big Pittsburgh guy, itching to get back into it after kind of an up and down time with the Cowboys, and reunited with his Super Bowl quarterback, who's probably on his last contract at this point, Jeff, or last year.
Yeah, he said that's it.
Yeah. So to me, this is a very interesting training camp in a year for the Pittsburgh Steelers, because while no really down years under Mike Tomlin, the last 6, 7, or 8 were basically no life. 8-8s, 8-9s, 9-8s, miss the playoffs, make the playoffs, and no wins. This is a very interesting camp for a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers, Jeff.
Yeah, it is. It is an interesting year, interesting camp. But you want to know something? They still have a chance. And even though whether they finished, whatever they finished, isn't all that important, because you're talking about a team that was still looking like they had the ability to do something. A lot of people still expected big things from them, even when they did finish 8-8.
Yeah.
This isn't a team that they're like, well, they're going to be in a rebuilding year. You never, ever hear that about them.
I would agree. Let me ask you this question. I mean, with the way that division is, Baltimore, Cincinnati, Cleveland, and the Steelers, do the Steelers, based on, the Cleveland should suck, can Joe Burrow stay healthy, and the Ravens being in an up and down, maybe having an up and down season because of Lamar's contract status, new coaching staff, could the Steelers find a way to win that division?
Sure, why not? Why not?
Yeah, I guess it's not impossible, right?
No, I definitely don't think it's impossible.
Okay.
I don't think that it's likely, but I mean, anything is possible.
Yeah.
Listen, until somebody knocks them out of the fight, they're still, they're still a team to be reckoned with.
Okay. No, I don't think this division's going to be any good. I got to be honest. I think this is going to be one of those divisions where the best team is 8-9 at the end of it, or 9-8. Maybe one team is good and they win it all, but I think all of these teams slide. Joe Burrow's got to stay healthy. That coach is under the gun a little bit to win. So I think this is going to be a very interesting division where you could have 2 teams be very good in Cincinnati and Baltimore, or you could have 4 teams that are mediocre at best. So it's an interesting division to watch. My next one is Daniel Jones recovery. People can rip Danny Dimes, no problem. He had a great first 7 or 8 games, broke a bone in his fibula, took a step or two backwards, and then ultimately tore his Achilles. And there's some concern. I think he's going to be ready early, and they gave him, Jeff, big money, not knowing if he play this year. This is a big question mark because they don't have anybody else.
I think it's unbelievable that somebody that's in his position keeps making money one way or another.
Kirk Cousins
with this team.
Yeah.
Well, Kirk Cousins didn't have injuries like Danny Dimes does.
No, you're right. Is that because he's got talent, or because the NFL is so devoid of good quarterbacks that a guy like Danny Jones, even 3/4 of him, is better than a lot of these guys that are riding the pine or looking for a job?
I think it's a potpourri of different things.
Okay.
I think that there is some ability there. I also think that teams, like we have somebody, this is our guy, we have him, and
Right.
they sign a guy like Danny Dimes. The Giants did, and now here he is, he's hurt, and Baltimore, Indianapolis snatches him up with a long-term deal too. What is it, a 2-year deal he's on or something like that?
I think it's only a 1-year deal, if I'm not
1-year deal?
mistaken. I'm almost positive. I have to look it up.
Well, I just think I personally feel as though that if he played lights out last year in the beginning of the year, if he could play and he tries to rehab himself back, maybe he has a chance of signing a long-term contract with somebody else. But I also think that a guy like Sam Darnold didn't make life easy for a lot of these other quarterbacks, because here's somebody that's been having problems, and he had a decent year and he won the Super Bowl.
Yeah. No,
Which I think that he was more a product of his team than him taking the team to win the Super Bowl.
He played well enough and he won it, so it's a good question. Last one is Patrick Mahomes. Can Mahomes actually get on the field? Now, they're talking about he's healthy. He's going to be on the field immediately. Obviously, he won't play at all in the preseason. Don't know if he's got enough talent around him. But, if Patrick Mahomes, hit one of his biggest attributes is his ability to duck, dodge, get out of the way of the rush, and make these weird throws and make plays coming out of his ass. If he's not 100% healthy, Jeff, that I would think would limit those type of plays and take away one of his special abilities. Would you agree, or do you think it doesn't matter? They'll adapt to whatever he's capable of.
We're going to see what happens, man. You would like to see him come back and be in good shape, for his team, for the league. He's an important player to have in the league and to make sure that he's playing right. Knee injuries are tough, man.
Yeah.
They are
quick.
tough.
From that injury, ACL, to be back on the field in less than a year is a miracle. But those injuries, they say you don't regain full strength, speed back until the second year. And there's a guy trying to get back on the field in 9 months. That's pretty impressive if he pulls it off and plays well. To Frankie's point, I don't think Frankie wants to miss opening day. I'm sure the NFL is going to do everything they can to make sure that he makes it back onto the field. I think if you're the Chiefs, what you don't want to do, Jeff, is put him out there where he can't really defend himself, and he winds up getting hurt worse than if they just let him sit out and come back week 4 or 5.
Well, listen, you're in a division with Denver and San Diego. You don't want to go too long without making a statement in a division like that, because you may find yourself behind the 8 ball. One of those teams gets hot and you lose a game or 2 more than them, and that's it. You could be out of it, by the time Halloween comes.
That's very true.
So, he's going to get out there as soon as possible. But they got to be smart about him. He's still young enough that you can have him as your quarterback for many years to come.
Yeah.
So you don't want to put him in a position where he gets hurt, especially a guy like him.
Agreed wholeheartedly, Jeff. Again, Hard Rocket Sports, Jeff and Tom
Tom,
here.
To be fair, I just got to run to the bathroom. Keep going,
Yeah.
please.
Hard Rocket Sports, we're here for our 2026 NFL Training Camp show. We had a little bit of a rough start. We're doing things a little different this week, but we're on the air. We're having some fun. We got about another 48 minutes on the air, so we'll get to some more stuff. But from this point on, every week we come back. We'll break down a division every week. We'll talk about training camps, all the big thing, anybody getting released, anybody getting hurt, anybody getting picked up, right up until our big the show the Thursday night of the first game. Although I think this year there's a Wednesday night game. Usually we're on the air when the first games happen, right before the first game and during the first game. But I believe the first game is a Wednesday this year. If I'm not mistaken, there's a crazy amount of games. I want to say it's like a Wednesday, I think there's a Wednesday game in Australia. And we'll get to the different games, but I'm pretty sure. And then, of course, we get to the opening of our team. So we'll be breaking down a lot of football each week. We're not going to get too in-depth right now, but we'll get more in-depth on each division each week. Maybe we'll hit two divisions, one in each conference each week. So make sure you come on back each Thursday night when Jeff and I get together. We will be on the air for the foreseeable future. I don't see any breaks in the action for us. Again, just while Jeff's out, I want to again send out our deepest and most sincere condolences to the family of Richie Holmes, who passed away untimely last Sunday or Saturday night at a very young age, I believe of 56. Boy, oh boy, hits home. Anybody who grew up in our neck of the woods, anybody who's gone into his restaurants, Juicy Lucy and some of the other ones, they know Richie to be a very personable, happy-go-lucky guy. Yeah, Frankie, give me your baseball trade question while Jeff's doing his business. Who knows how long that's going to take. But our big condolences to Richie's family and friends, and I'm sure he will be remembered fondly by everybody who met him. Would you trade Lombard for Mason Miller? That is a great question. The answer is yes. I'll always trade an unknown commodity for a known commodity when it's that. Like I'm not trading for a guy. When I trade Lombard and I'm not picking on Lindor or Manny Machado, the answer is no. But if I could pick up a guy like Mason Miller for a guy that I am not sure is good. I mean, everybody thought in the Yankee organization that Volpe was going to be the shortstop for 20 years, and that's not working out. I know I like Lombard. I think he's got the tools. But, yeah, I'd have to really, really say – I would say yes. It would have to be straight up. Like I would not give Lombard and somebody else. Now, what I've read is that Lombard is not an option. But if I were to – see, I think a lot of it depends on this. If you're going to get – you need a bat. Well, as much as you need a help in the bullpen and all that, you need a bat. So the question is, how do you get the bat? Is it Stanton and Judge get healthy and we got them back? You're going to trade for a bat? I don't know. There's some talk I've heard about them trading one of their starters because they seem to have a lot with Fried and Cole. I tell you what, Frankie, I would say if Lombard, if he stays healthy down there, there's a chance you'll see him in August because they need offense. They're not getting it from Caballero. They're not getting it from Volpe. It's very, very slight. I would leave Caballero on the bench to play different positions to give people a break or make moves during the game. His bat is severely cooled off, even though his glove is heated up. His glove's okay. I would get Lombard up. I got to be honest. I think they need a spark, and I would do that. But yes, if I know that I'm going to be in it, if I know I got the bats, I would make the move for Miller. The problem to getting Miller is if you don't get some offense. I'm not saying you got to win, 9-0, but and having Miller be able to close with Bednar would be nice. Keep those, the low scoring games that they've been playing. But Yeah, I would trade Lombard for Miller. That's not a problem for me. All right, so Jeff, here's the key hires. You can stop and you can comment on any one of them. To me, I was very surprised by the Buffalo Bills getting rid of their head coach because they've had so much success, even though it hasn't translated to getting to the Super Bowl. They did promote their offensive coordinator, Joe Brady, so there should be at least some sort of continuity for the offense and Josh Allen. I wonder, Jeff, do you think that they had a conversation, the owners, with Josh Allen before they made that decision?
I would think so.
Yeah,
I would think so. How do you not?
I would agree. You're talking about a guy who's in the prime of his career, and if they had tried to bring a whole new staff in with a whole new offense, if you're Josh Allen, I think you're kind of pumping the brakes on that. I would say, but I think at least keeping Joe Brady keeps that offense the way he wants it. Maybe they tweak it, and I'm guessing they're looking to just try a culture change to get over the top, Jeff. Well, you got arguably the best quarterback in the game right now.
Yeah, I agree.
The Baltimore Ravens brought in former Chargers defense coordinator Jesse Minter. Again, can he build on that? Can he get more? Can another coach get more out of Lamar Jackson than they've gotten? And can they get it over the hurdle? I don't know. We'll see. It's an interesting pickup. Kevin Stefanski takes over in Atlanta. Didn't have a ton of success with Cleveland, and Matt Ryan has left the TV booth, Jeff, and has now become
like the president of Atlanta, right?
President of football operations. So we'll see how Matt Ryan does in that spot. Of course, we've talked about already the Giants getting John Harbaugh and what that means to the Giants. Here's an interesting one, Jeff. Not only is your former coach and the guy you idolized, Robert Saleh, moved over to Tennessee now and is taking over a team that needs a lot of work. He also brought over another failed head coach in Brian Dable, who has been known to be the quarterback whisperer, offensive coordinator. Jeff, how does this end for Robert Saleh, Brian Dable? Do you think this is a good pairing, and do you see a brighter future for both these coaches?
No, I think that I was just reading the other day about Robert Saleh, and he's already doing some of the stuff that he did the first time around with the Jets, which is rotate his defensive line too much. And a lot of people said that it's a bad way to start off, that he has some good pieces down there and that he should be using them, but he likes to have these guys on a pitch count. So, if already he's going to start off that way, he's not going to be in a good way in a short period, man.
No,
he's going to get on people's nerves.
Very true. Todd Monken takes over a Cleveland Browns team who's in they say they're in a transition, but Jeff, it feels like Cleveland's been in a perpetual transition since they've been back in the league 20 or 30 years ago, whatever that was.
Since Brian Sipe was retired.
Yeah. So good luck to Todd Monken with that ugly situation. He's got 5 quarterbacks in camp.
I will say this much, though. He has 5 quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. Okay. It's coming down to Shedeur and Deshaun Watson.
It looks like, yep.
Yeah, and at least you have other options. So
yeah.
You can't discount anything yet. I'm sure that we'll be able to very, very soon. I just don't think it's yet.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I would agree with you. Yeah, I think that is very true. Arizona Cardinals hired Mike LaFleur, the former Rams offensive coordinator. They've moved on from Kyler Murray. I believe Jacoby Brissett and rookie Carson Beck are his options at quarterback, to the point where there's one of those flashing things on the screens on all the sports shows. Jacoby Brissett in a contract dispute basically with them, and I said, boy, oh boy, how bad did the league get when Jacoby Brissett is a highlighted contract dispute with the Arizona Cardinals.
It must be. Well, he's looking for not huge money, but he's looking for comparable money to what other people are making. Serviceable backup, but
Yeah.
I think you got to know your role, and sometimes you got to pick your fights a different way.
I would certainly agree with that. The Las Vegas Raiders are obviously moving on from the Pete Carroll era. Clint Kubiak takes over. He's the former Seahawks offensive coordinator. The question for the Raiders, and we'll see in another topic, but is how do they enter the season? Is Kirk Cousins going to be their quarterback? Is he going to be the quarterback of the season? When does Fernando Mendoza get in there? At what point do you make that move? A lot to ask of a young, first-time NFL head coach, Jeff.
Well, I would think that you got to go with Cousins.
Yes.
And ride that with Cousins for as long as you can, and bring this other kid along slowly. Unless this kid is going to be enough to push you over the edge and get your team into the Super Bowl, which we both know he's not, then what's the sense of trying to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, great.
To push that. Don't, because then you may find yourself looking at another top 10 pick again next year, top 5 pick next year.
100%. I'm a big believer in letting these kids find their way onto the field when necessary. I thought the Giants rushed Jackson Dart. It sort of worked out. We don't know yet for sure, but he did wind up responding. But there's a lot more guys who get rushed onto the field, Jeff, who don't make it work later on.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I hear that.
Jeff Hafley takes over in Miami for the oddest coach I think I've ever seen in Mike McDaniels and his crazy pants and all that other stuff and his crazy offense. Let's see if he can somehow find a way to make Malik Willis and take them through a non-embarrassing season. So good luck to Jeff Hafley. Of course, we talked about Mike McCarthy taking over the Pittsburgh Steelers. Again, do you think it was smart? I mean, they've had so much success bringing in the young, up-and-coming coordinator, Mike Tomlin, Bill Cowher, of course, Chuck Noll back in the day. 3 coaches, it almost smells like the next head coach is warming up in the bullpen on this one, Jeff, where, the stability that this team has had for 60 years is kind of looking like it's going out the window between the quarterback choice and the head coach choice.
Yeah, well, listen, I get just another team, I guess, that they realize that they have to, play with what they have, so to speak. And, it makes you question a lot of things with some of these teams. But time will tell. Let's see what happens. They haven't had much in the way of success themselves in the last couple of years.
No, agreed. We talked about coaches, new coaches. Let's talk about, Jeff, coaches on the hot seat right now. So starting off, it's not in that's not talked about a lot, but Zach Taylor, the head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals, Jeff, missed the playoffs for 3 straight years. The defense has been ranked at the bottom. Retained, even though they had a very poor 2025, lots of injuries. He needs a major turnaround in a division that a couple years ago, it looked like they were about to take over and dominate. They've taken major steps back, mostly because of injury, but they've had a very talented roster for a long time.
Yeah, well, listen, things change on a dime in the NFL. Sometimes the coach is wrong. Sometimes one of the players is wrong.
Yep.
You have Joe Burrow as your quarterback, so you can't give up on him. Although, is he 30 yet, Joe Burrow?
No, I don't. Well, it's a good question. I don't think so. He's probably 28, 29, I would guess.
I thought he was a little bit older than some of these other guys.
Maybe I'd have to look it up, but I don't think he's quite 30. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was that far off that. So yeah.
Let's see. He is 29. He'll be 30. He'll be 30 this year.
Okay, so we're both right.
He feels like he's been in the league forever.
It does feel that way. I do remember his championship, NCAA championship game and all that. It seems like yesterday. But so big year for Zach Taylor and the Cincinnati Bengals. Brian Schottenheimer In Dallas, 2 straight losing seasons. People say you have to have a playoff-ready roster. I don't know if I agree. I think offensively, it's been a very good team. I don't think they've had a very good defense the last couple years. But there is a lot of pressure to win in Dallas. One, it's Dallas. Two, you have an owner who spends a lot of money, who's 84 years old, who doesn't want to build for the future, Jeff. So I don't think this guy's going to get a long leash if they get overtaken in this year by the Giants and they finish second or third to the Giants or somebody else. This is a team that has to win, not necessarily a championship this year, but I would think if they're not playing for the NFC title game, he's probably not back next year.
That's a very good possibility. I mean, you hit the nail on the head where the owner is getting older.
Yeah.
But he's also not going to be the one to all of a sudden, all of a sudden out of nowhere, bring his team to the Super Bowl. He just haven't been able to do it in years.
Yep.
So
it's 30 plus years now. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Okay, Matt LaFleur is on a little bit of a hot streak. I think he's stronger than that, but he is in that group. Strong regular season, but only one playoff win. And there seems to be some people above him pressing. I think the bigger one is this one, and Dan Quinn. 2 years ago, playing the NFC championship game, lost to the eventual Super Bowl winners. And last year, their quarterback took a big step backwards. The team took a big step backwards. Dan Quinn, we all know, has had really that's an interesting one. We'll get to that one. That's a good one, Franco. Davis Webb taking over after the OC and taking over play calling for Peyton. That's actually pretty good.
Is that quarterback in Washington any good? Like where did
I don't think so.
Break down?
I don't think so. He was injured a lot last year. They don't have a ton of talent on wideouts. McLaren is obviously a stud, but I think with Dan Quinn's history, failed in Atlanta, gave away a Super Bowl. I would be shocked if they had a better season. I expect that team to be last in the NFC East this year. I think the Cowboys may step up a little bit. I think the Eagles take a step back. I don't know which way the Giants go yet. I could easily see a Giants finishing. We'll talk about who wins the division, but it would not shock me if it's Dallas, Philly, Giants, and Washington, and Dan Quinn loses his job. I think he's a bad head coach, and I would be very, very surprised if he was able to get anything more out of Jaden Daniels. I think Jaden Daniels is kind of the what's his name, RG3. Had a big season, gets hurt, and never again regains that kind of play again.
Well, this is a big year for him then, because he'd have to prove last year wrong.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I don't know why that's listed that way. That's a typo right there. Sorry about that. Okay. Next up is Shane Stenkin in Indianapolis. Again, all the eggs are in the Daniel Jones basket. Came out of the box last year, Jeff. They were like 7 or 8-1, and then Jones gets hurt, and they nosedive. They don't make the playoffs. He needs a winning season and probably a playoff appearance to save his job. But it's kind of tough when all your eggs is in the Danny Dimes basket. Danny's got to stay healthy this year.
Yeah, I agree.
Todd Bowles, Todd Bowles, I've never thought of as a great head coach. I think he's got a lot. I think he's got a lot out of that team. But this year, no Mike Evans, another, Baker Mayfield. Yeah. This is a bit. I think this is I think I put down that it's a roster in transition. I think there's a lot of pressure for him to win this year. I think if he in a very bad division, one that they should be dominating, with the Saints, the Panthers, it's not a great division. And the fact that they're not dominating and playing well, I would think Todd Bowles is under the gun this year.
I would think so. He's been over there for a number of years as it is.
Yep.
So, maybe a change is coming. Maybe a change is due.
Yep. We talked about it. Aaron Glenn, I think, is in a hot seat right now. He could survive an average season, but if the season goes the way it did last year, where they were putrid at the end of it, if his play calling and X's and O's don't get better, I think this could be the end for Aaron Glenn. I think he's under a major hot seat. I think in a lot of other years he may have been out after his first year. The way that team finished was embarrassing, and but I think he gets the second year. But if it's not much better, Aaron Glenn will be looking for a defensive coordinator position, maybe at Newton High School.
Time is going to tell, man.
Yep.
I would like to see it work out for him, but I'd like to see him put together a good season.
Yep.
Get some of the guys you got, and be smart with them, and just see what happens. It's hard. It's the Jets, man. Like, there's no leeway for them whatsoever.
I got you. The two of the next three are very surprising to me, but they had to make the list. Nick Sirianni's had a ton of 2 years ago, a dominant team wins the Super Bowl. Lots of issues in the locker room last year. Nobody likes the quarterback. Your best receiver forces his way off the team. Saquon Barkley comes back down to earth. Lots of issues in there. I think their offensive coordinator got his house egged or something thrown at his house. Nick Sirianni is not a loved guy, and I think he's got to win this year. Again, not necessarily a Super Bowl, but I think that team's got to win the division, got to make a run in the playoffs. If they fail and miss, I could easily see Nick Sirianni not being the head coach of the Eagles, which, Jeff, it's surprising coming 2 years off a Super Bowl title. 4 years ago, another Super Bowl appearance, that we have a guy in that on the hot seat right now.
Yeah, but they're not consistently going. They went twice in 4 years, and with one win. So it's not like they've been there, on the verge. They went to the NFC Championship game like 3 years in a row, and they made it twice, and they won once.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have the greatest track record, so to speak. So
fair enough. Last one. The Panthers is the Panthers. I'm shocked he's still there. But they did improve last year, so we'll see. But they need to take another step, and always Dave Canales will be looking for a job. But Dan Campbell, Jeff, I think Dan Campbell has to be on the hot seat, and I'll tell you why. There was a lot of build-up with Dan Campbell. He came in, crazy press conferences, a big upgrade on that team. That they were a few really bad play calls from going to a Super Bowl 4 or 5 years ago, but there's been a steady decline there. Lots of turnovers in his coaching staff. Got one of the best backs in the league, if not. They've had a really good defense for a few years now. I think they're in a tough division, maybe the best division in football this year. The NFC North may be the best division of football, but if Dan Campbell doesn't get his team back on top, I could see Dan Campbell biting knees somewhere else next year.
Well, let me tell you something. If he becomes available, he's going to be a highly sought after coach.
Yes,
I'll tell you that much.
He will not be able to work very long. You're right. There will be a Dan Campbell, because of the way he turned this team around so quick. I think he's a great culture builder. He's a great guy to get you to come in, fix the problems, get everybody on the same page. I think the problem is his X's and O's are terrible. And I think that's the question. And I think he needs to win soon because, Jared Goff's not getting any younger. They let go Montgomery, the other back. They
traded him.
Yeah. So they have a really good receiver core, but a very tough division. I could easily see the Packers and the Bears outpacing the Lions this year. I don't expect much from the Vikings, and we'll get to them at some point. But do you agree, Jeff? Do you think Dan Campbell's under the gun this year, or do you think he's earned if you were the president of football operations in Detroit, would you not be worried about that this year?
I think they're going to want to watch him take it to the next level, but because Detroit did nothing for so long, that fan base is probably happy just to get into the playoffs for more than 1 year, and that's that. This is probably their longest run of success.
Probably in a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're happy that they are where they are.
Yeah.
I mean, he's doing a good. On one hand, he's doing a good job. He just haven't been able to get the championship.
Yeah.
And listen, he had his moments, and other times he looks brilliant. Other times he looks like he's wearing himself out there. So he has to be smart also what he does with this team, because people aren't going to sit around and wait for him to turn every team that he goes to around. It's just not going to happen that way.
Yeah, we gotcha. I would definitely understand that. I agree with you. Let's see. We did coaches. Let's do quarterback battles. I'll get that in there. So, Jeff, some surprising. Here's the surprise about the quarterback battles. Look at the names that we're going to be talking about. All right. In Minnesota, it's Kyler Murray versus J.J. McCarthy. Kyler Murray, a failed first-round pick whose resume has included almost getting cut by his team because he played too many video games. And J.J. McCarthy, who's probably been thought of as a much failed early round Minnesota Viking pick. That is the quarterback battle. Again, I'll reference my thing before. Might be tallest midget in the circus.
Yeah.
Does it matter who wins that one, Jeff?
Well, listen, if J.J. McCarthy doesn't win, are they going to continue to try to push him next year? How many times are you going to say next year?
No, if he gets beat up by Kyler Murray, I would be shocked if he's still on the roster at the end of training camp. If he's not traded somewhere or let go. Because if he can't beat out Kyler Murray, why would you hold on to him?
Because he's young, and maybe they feel as though that they could train him and get him out of whatever bad habits he has and win it on to the next situation. I hear you, but you know what? There's plenty of people that have worse quarterback situations, and we're going to come across some of them right now.
Yeah. Here's another interesting brouhaha. Jacoby
here may be the first fine example of a team that has a worse quarterback situation.
Yeah, first one, and that's Jacoby Brissett versus the long-term project of Carson Beck. Carson Beck was I would say a fairly good college quarterback, hung around forever, moved around a few times, versus a guy who's moved around all over the NFL. Again, if I was Arizona, I would play Carson Beck. I don't think you're going anywhere, Jacoby Brissett. You're not going to win a lot of games. Now, if you're saying, I want to tank so that way I'm up for next year's rookie draft class and I can get one of those guys with a top 5 pick, then play Brissett. I would throw Carson Beck to the Wolves and let him play football.
Yeah, after a while, after a certain point, it's not going to hurt. But, I mean, you also forgot they got Gardner Minshew there. So, they do have other options. But, Jacoby Brissett, what was he, like 1-11 with the Cardinals last year?
Maybe, yeah.
So it's not like he came in and he was 10-6 and, we almost got him into a playoff position. This was a bad team to begin with. So depending on the only thing I could say is, you have your fair share of rookies over there. You're going to want to have a somewhat of a decent quarterback. Because if not, the big thing for Arizona is all of the rookies they have on those rookie contracts, so that they're paying them on the low end. So if they don't start to get better soon, you're not going to want to have to take the 5th-year option on all these guys and pay through the nose and then find out that, they're no good. So you got to work on that and cut your losses now. And Jacoby Brissett is also, what is he, like 35, 36 years old?
Oh, I don't know. I wouldn't think he's that old, but it's possible. You may be right. He's been around. But it seems like he's been around forever. So yeah.
Yeah, he's been around a long time.
Next up is Michael Penix, who's recovering from a partially torn ACL. Right now is the favorite to start over Tua Tagovailoa. Tua obviously run out of Miami, had some up and downs. I think I don't know the best way to characterize his time in Miami. There was some times where you thought he was going to take it to another level and be the next, get into that top 10 quarterbacks. And then there was other weeks it looked like he couldn't throw the ball 15 feet. Obviously had tons of injury issues, head injury issues. This is an interesting one. You know, if you're Atlanta, you're praying that Michael Penix is the starter, because if Tua were to beat him out, other than for an injury, Jeff, I think you're putting the Michael Penix career on serious life support.
Oh, listen, if I don't think that you're replacing or attempting to replace Penix with Tua.
Yeah,
right there says all you need to know.
yeah.
You know, that this guy is not exactly a long-term answer. He didn't make it in Miami when your team needs a quarterback, and you know he had a pretty couple not pretty. He had a couple decent years.
Sure, yeah. If he was healthy, he had some decent years,
just not enough to keep him though. But
I agree.
well, let's see what happens. Let's see if he turns it around. If one of them turns it around, if not, that's another team that could be looking for a quarterback next year at this time.
100%.
And just more competition to get him.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I think there's a chance that they could be. There's a chance. I believe that the Redskins could be looking for one. We obviously know the Jets are looking for one, but there's a serious chance that the next team we're going to talk about, the Cleveland Browns, they could be looking for their next quarterback. Jeff, in this battle of Deshaun Watson versus Shedeur Sanders, you know, I think Cleveland's desperate, in my opinion, to have Deshaun Watson have one good or great year as their quarterback. Not that they won't sign to another deal. I think he's obviously more experienced than Shedeur Sanders. I don't think they believe in Shedeur at this moment, but I think they want to at least say we got something out of that $250 million 4 or 5 year guaranteed contract that they gave him. I would bet that ownership wants Deshaun Watson to start. Do you think though that the coaching staff wants to go with the younger guy?
I think that what they have going on there is that they realize that there is no option.
Yeah.
And that they just got to go with you know the least hurtful option.
Yeah.
Which I don't know who it's going to be.
Yeah.
You know, they got to start developing something there because there's nothing.
Yep.
And you know, listen, is it Watson? They're probably praying on some level that it's not. Is it Sanders? They're probably also praying on some level that it's not. Because how could you want some of these guys on the team? You know, you're talking about some bad players, you know?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
so I don't think that either one of them is their preference of a long-term answer.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, obviously, Dylan Gabriel's hanging around, but he got a good chance to show what he had last year and didn't do much. Again, next year, let's see what happens. Of course, we finish up one we already talked about with Fernando Mendoza and Kirk Cousins. I think if all things are equal, Kirk Cousins starts the season. If they win some games, he stays there. If they start to lose, I think just for the attraction, you're in Las Vegas, I could see Mendoza before the middle of that season becoming the starting quarterback. I know if part owner Tom Brady has anything to say, I would think he wants Mendoza starting. He's been nothing but talking him up from what I've seen. So interesting.
You know, as a quarterback of Brady's reputation, he's going to want to show that he helped had a hand in getting you know, the next quarterback and that he could pick him, because you just never know what he plans on doing as far as next year goes, or somewhere down the line. Does he sell his interest in that team, or you know, does he try to anything at this point in time with them? So you also want to look good with what you're doing with that team. You don't want to look bad either.
Yep.
You know, as Tom Brady. But that's another team that has so many different questions. A lot of questions.
Very true. Again, now let's move on to some of the injuries heading into camp. We've talked about Patrick Mahomes. Can he get on the field and be the guy? Can he get back out there and be Patrick Mahomes? That's a huge question. Bo Nix recovering from a fractured ankle. He's fully expected to be the number one, to be their starting quarterback in week 1. Rashee Rice had some loose bodies removed from his knee. Daniel Jones trying to get back on the field after a torn Achilles in December. Looks like he's going to be ready. Again, Michael Penix, we just talked about partial ACL. Malik Neighbors, I don't think he's going to be 100%, but we'll see if that happens. George Kittle getting back on the field. Christian McCaffrey. These are the bigger names that need to get back on the field.
Christian McCaffrey, isn't he been in the league like over 10 years at this point in time?
It feels like it. It feels like it, yeah.
He's been there a while.
Oh, yeah. I mean, one of the best players in the league when he's healthy. One of those guys who seems to be better every other year. Just seems to take a year off with injuries and this and that. I like watching the guy play, of course, unless he's playing the Giants. But really one of the best backs in the league. And Jeff, you made the prediction a bunch of years ago when teams were throwing the ball around 50 times a game and quarterbacks were trying to get 5,000 yards, and we were talking about can he be a 6,000-yard guy. You said, hey, one of these days it's coming back around. The running game will come back. It'll be the focal point, blah, blah, blah. And you know what? It's kind of doing that now. You don't have great quarterbacks. You got guys like Bijan Robinson and Kenneth Walker and Saquon Barkley and Christian McCaffrey. There are some really good backs, and I think you're going to see a lot more. Even though, Jeff, it's not sexy. The league doesn't want it. The league don't want you to go back to the 70s and hand the ball off 25 and 30 times a game. They want you throwing the ball. They want you putting up points in fantasy leagues. But I think you're going to see maybe not a quite drastic change, but I do think you're going to see a more determined effort to run the ball a lot more in the NFL this year.
Yeah, I could see that without a doubt. But listen, you can't discount any position in the NFL.
No.
While everybody wants a quarterback, one day there's going to be a running back is going to come in. But it seems as though that the NFL is devaluing the running back position purposely.
Yeah.
And I don't understand it. I really don't.
Yeah, it is interesting. I don't know why I copied that way. Anyway, so we're running out of time, so we're not going to get too deep into this. Starting next week, we're going to run through. We're going to run through each division. We'll go through 2 divisions a week for the next few weeks, leading ourselves up to the start of the season, Jeff. But looking at it now, to me, this division, the NFC North, potentially is the best division of football. I mean, even Minnesota could theoretically, they're only a couple years removed. In 2022, the Vikings were considered, they were the number 1 team heading into the playoffs. So I think this division, Jeff, amongst any other in the NFC certainly, but maybe even into the AFC, might be the best division of football. Would you agree? Looking at this division.
It's hard to disagree with that, to be honest with you. In my eyes,
yeah, I think the AFC West with the Chiefs, Broncos, and Chargers potentially could be considered there. Although I still am not huge. I'm still not big on the Chargers. I think Kansas City could take a huge step back this year, depending on Mahomes' health. I also don't think their team is that good. But this potential. But to me, there's no other division that is probably 3 deep. Now, Detroit, Jeff, could take a step back again this year, and this could be a two team race.
That is possible. I could see that.
The question is, do the Bears build on what they did last year? I mean, a really good run. Teams have, especially nowadays, Jeff, teams have a habit of having these kind of miracle runs. Nobody's accounting for them. They have a big win over the Rams, and then come back this year and they lay an egg on the field. Everybody's kind of gunning for them. This could be potentially a really good division in football. Other than that, if you look at the divisions, Cowboys, Giants, Eagles, Redskins, is this going to be a great division? It could be. The Cowboys had a great draft and some good free agents. The Giants have a new coaching staff. The Eagles are the Eagles until somebody knocks them off. They've been the best. Even the Redskins have a chance to turn them out. So this could be a really good division. I don't see it.
I agree with you. I don't see it. I think there's too many. I think those teams need too much work. They may turn around on themselves.
Right.
But as far as turning around and being a contender and sending 3 teams to the playoffs out of that division, I don't see it.
Here's another one that's interesting: the NFC West. Obviously, we don't buy into the Cardinals, but the Rams are everybody's favorite pick, especially with the Super Bowl in LA this year. Seattle obviously coming off of the big Super Bowl win. Question is going to be, can they be that team that repeats? Can Sam Darnold have another great year? And then the 49ers. So there's another division that could have 3 teams vying for a playoff spot this year.
Yeah, I could see that happening in that division. I really can. But, I mean, do you think the Rams are the overall favorite in that division this year?
Well, in the division, yes, and then maybe in the whole West. I mean, Stafford's still playing well. They can run the ball. They can play defense. They've made some really good moves in this offseason. I think the Rams are, to me, the favorite in the NFC altogether. Obviously, you still kind of contend with your division, with the Eagles, maybe the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys have gotten better. Obviously, Bears, Lions, and Packers. So nothing's a given. But if you ask me today, who's the favorite going in, I'd have to say it's the Rams. So I think they're the team to knock off this year if you want to go to the playoffs. I think they've set themselves up for a decent season. Yeah, they are the favorite, Frankie. I can't imagine. In the AFC, ton of questions in this division. Lots of questions in this division. I'm not buying anybody in this division right now.
No, there's some divisions that you just don't think are going to do anything, and the AFC South, to me, is definitely one of them.
Yeah, if you ask me today, going in, and I'm not making Super Bowl predictions yet. We'll hold that off till right before the season. To me, it's Denver and LA. I think Denver, ran into weather and a quarterback issue last year, and the Rams. I think those are the teams that start the season on the perch. That you're going to win it. You're going to beat those teams. I mean, the Broncos have a great defense. Their quarterback has made huge strides. They got a heck of a head coach, although I'm not the biggest fan of him sometimes. I'm going to see how they handle this play calling duties as to Sean Payton take him back at some point if Davis Webb, who was just on the field not too long ago. So that's an interesting one. But to me, if you're asking me the favorites, it's Denver and it's the Rams. But we got a long way to go before we get there. AFC South division with the best team from there will somehow have I agree with you. I do think that this division could have a winner who's 7-10, 8-9. We've seen it before in other divisions. This could be, I think, Jacksonville. Hey, Jeff, at what point do we say that Trevor Lawrence is a bust? I don't know if he's playing as a bust.
We ask that question every year. I don't know. I think anything short of him winning the Super Bowl, people are going to give him a side eye. But I don't know. I mean, he had a little bit of a career resurgence last year. He did a little bit better. The team overall did better, but I don't have no faith in him. I would want him.
In that division, to not have jumped up and kind of taken hold of it is odd. I mean, again, not terrible and all, but I think that's a team that needs to be better. But hey, listen, we're going to break it all down. We got the next 6 months of football conversations. May not take up the whole show, but we'll definitely be spending a lot of time talking. Next week, we'll pick 2 divisions. We'll run through them, kind of get more into the depth of it, leading up to our season show where we kind of opening day. We'll kind of break it all down. Jeff, wouldn't you want to watch him on the Jets? Yeah, I would say that's a definite. Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, I would say it would be a significant upgrade. I mean, I don't know if he win a Super Bowl with him.
He hasn't done much on Jacksonville. I would not want him. I'm interested to see what the Jets get next year in the draft in 2027. To be honest with you,
let me ask you a question, Jeff. Here, if next year you could get no trade, you're not trading for him. You could get Trevor Lawrence somehow. Let's say they cut him and they picked him up. Would you take him and not draft a quarterback, or would you forego it and you want to take the unknown college football quarterback?
I'd want to go with the unknown college football quarterback. To be honest with you,
okay,
only because Trevor Lawrence has not really done much since he's been in the NFL.
I got it, but I guarantee you, I bet you we look and he's been throwing for 3,500 yards and 25 touchdowns a year. I'm not a fan. I don't think he's averaged up, but
I don't think he's had that kind of.
I don't know.
I don't think he's had that. We're going to look right now. I don't think he's had that, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I would be shocked.
Okay.
Well, actually, you know what? Yeah, Trevor Lawrence, 4,000 yards last year, 29 touchdowns. In his career, he's broken 4,000 yards 3 times.
Yeah.
He's had 12, 25, 21, 11, and 29 touchdowns, 98 touchdowns to 58 interceptions. He's completed 62.8% of his passes.
Yep.
He's been sacked 153 times. His rating is 86.3. I don't know. He does nothing for me.
I agree with. Listen, I agree with you. I'm just saying is if my prospects next year was an unknown quarterback coming out of college, and you guys haven't had a lot of success with that, and bringing back the likes of Geno Smith or Jacoby Brissett or another retread, Trevor Lawrence is a significant upgrade on anybody. I would tell you he might be the best quarterback you guys have had since Kenny O'Brien, if you had him on your roster.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Well,
I don't know about that. First of all, he's going to the Jets, so you don't have the weapons that some of these other teams have.
Talent alone. Forget about success on the Jets and all that.
How many games a year does talent win you, Tom?
I'm just saying. Would he be the most talented quarterback?
How many games a year is talent win you?
Well, I don't know. I'm not saying he's going to win the Super Bowl. I'm just saying I think he would be the best, most talented quarterback you guys have had. Whether it turns into anything or not, I'm not saying. He would be the most talented quarterback you guys have had on your roster since Kenny O'Brien.
I don't know. Testaverde took us to AFC Championship game. Mark Sanchez went twice.
That's fair.
Mark Sanchez went twice.
But he's much more talented than Sanchez. Sanchez lived on the backs of that running game, offensive line, and defense.
100% true, but nonetheless, he was a quarterback in 2 AFC Championship games.
No. See you later, Frankie. Have a good night. Yeah, again, it's an interesting conversation. But listen, it's been a ton of fun. We'll celebrate our official anniversary next week. It's been great doing the NFL training camp show tonight. I've been blessed to do this with my good friend for the past 12 years. And I look forward to this year. And let's hope for good years from our teams and good football season. Lots of good storylines, Jeff.
Yep. Let's see what happens, man.
All right. And we got the big fantasy draft coming up in about a month. So we're looking forward to that.
Looking forward to that.
Yep. We'll have more conversations about that coming up after this weekend. But in the meantime, guys, I have to say goodnight. I want to thank Frankie for staying with us and Anthony for joining in and everybody else who was hitting me up along the way. And I appreciate everybody who comes back, my dad, and everybody who sticks with us week in and week out. And we love having you here, and it's a big part of what we do. So I want to say thank you to Jeff and everybody again for the last 12 years. It's been a blast, and I hope to do another 12 years. And in the meantime, Jeff, we're going to call it a night and say, I hope you guys have a great rest of your night, a great rest of your week, a great weekend, and a great next week. I hope you guys come on back and do it all over again with us. And I look forward to seeing you guys right here next Thursday night at 7 o'clock. So for Jeff, myself, and everybody at Hard Rocket Sports, have a great night, and we'll see you next week. Hefe, I will definitely talk to you off the air. We'll make some plans for the week. And
Yeah, I will see you Saturday.
yes, yeah, you will.
All right.
You got it, my friend.
All right, man. Have a
Good
good
night.
night, dude. Bye.